Happy birthday in advance. Who is it? Alina? Which one of you has the birthday? Let me just look that up real quick. Emerald Queen. Emerald Queen, happy birthday in advance to you. I hope you have a lovely day this Saturday. Uh, yeah, just noticed that in the chat before we started. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Differently Wired Show. You like our new logo? Differently Wired Podcast with Max Darrett and John Tucker, episode 63. I'm your host, as always, Max Darrett, your friendly neighborhood Simpsons kin. Because, the skin's yellow. Although people were quite upset when I put out my silver button unboxing video a couple days ago that my skin happened to not look particularly yellow. I was sick a couple days ago, so my skin was looking quite pale. So please forgive me for, not being a little bit more clear up front with that. But anyways, I am Max, and here's also the aforementioned John Tucker. John, how you doing? And who provided us with this lovely new logo?
Oh, the guy who does my website, James Cobert.
James Coburn?
Yeah, Cobert.
Cobert. Jim,
Yeah,
you're a miracle
Jim.
worker, man. I love what you did here, dude.
Yeah, he's really gifted with this stuff.
I have absolutely no artistic sensibility whatsoever. In fact, I've been working on a new video today that's supposed to be coming out towards the end of the week. I was struggling for over half an hour trying to put a thumbnail together. So I went to one of the people that frequents my Discord quite frequently and asked her if she would do it, and she said yes. So shout out to Voss, who's usually in there doing art for everybody. I really appreciate it. Before we get into the main topic of the day, I want to go back to the usual house cleaning stuff since it's been a while since we've done it. I know it's sort of boring to all of you. If somebody wants to put in the time code in the comment section just so they can skip it, that's cool. We just need to do this just so we can attract new viewers to the right places. So first of all, in case you guys didn't know, we do have a podcast version of the show. It's available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, I believe. Pretty much anywhere you get your podcasts, I'm sure that you'll be able to find the Differently Wired show. So if you want to listen to us on the go, that way you're not having to be at your desktop or your laptop, you can listen to our beautiful, beautiful voices. We also have a Facebook page. There's a link to it in the description box below. I know you have Facebook, and I know you have the ability to use a mouse. Let's go there and give us a like. Inflate our egos. Or at least inflate
You
my
just
ego.
got a super chat coming in, Max,
Oh, I
from
did?
Joel Reese. Yeah.
Oh, Joel Wiss. $2. Gotta love the show. Yes, you do have to love the show. It's illegal if you don't. Joel, we're actually going to be addressing a question of yours later on in the mailbag. Good to see you, dude. Discord server. I believe you mentioned last week that we passed 1,300 members. Yes, and we're still growing, guys. If you want to engage with other like-minded people, other differently wired folk, you please think about joining the Discord server. There's again a link to it in the description box below. You can go there and talk about my videos, talk about like mental health. There's a whole bunch of different text chats, as you can see in the left-hand side of the screen here. And there's like the lounge where you can, and the voice chats. If maybe you're feeling particularly shy and want to get better at talking to people, everybody there has been really friendly. I've actually gotten some feedback from people saying, "Hey, normally I don't actually like talking that much, but I decided to give it a shot, go into the general voice chat, and now they feel a lot more open to talking to people." So if that seems like the kind of community that you want to join, I highly recommend that you join. Also, another perk of being able to join the Discord server is that we do have the support squadron. This is a group of people that I love quite dearly because what they decide to do with their time is volunteer to listen to people that might be going through some stuff in regards to being differently wired or having mental illness. If you happen to be going through some stuff right now and really need somebody to talk to, once you go into the Discord server, look for anybody whose name is highlighted in green. You can see some of them right here, right now. And message any of them, and they'll be happy to talk to you about whatever's on your mind. And finally, before we get into the main topic, we do have the after show. This is one of the. Wait a minute, where's my subscribe star graphic? Oh, I don't have it. Maybe I accidentally moved it to another folder and OBS isn't picking it up. But anyways, yeah, I do have a Subscribestar account. It's sort of like Patreon, but without all the unethical business practices. There's a link to that in the description box below. And one of the perks of donating to my Subscribestar account is so you get access to the after show. So there is a full hour after the show where you and I can just hang out, talk about whatever's on your mind. It's usually quite enlightening, a lot of fun. Sometimes we talk about games, sometimes we talk about mental health, whatever's on your mind, and it's usually a lot of fun. Okay, John. This is the main topic that was
Yes.
sent in to us today. Romance and
Right.
managing attraction. This was recommended. I said a couple weeks ago that I went into the feedback for Max text chat in the Discord and said, "Hey guys, what would you like us to talk about on the Differently Wired show?" And the one that seemed to garner the most enthusiasm was romance and managing attraction. It was recommended by Aparo Dodaro and seconded by Dashnog, who is often in my private Minecraft server. Yeah, this is a really, really broad topic. We're not going to obviously get to a whole bunch of like every single aspect of this discussion. So, what we're going to do, John and I are going to talk about just a few things. But if you guys that are listening to us live right now have anything that you'd like to say on the topic, whether it's a question or maybe you want to share an experience, John and I will look at the live chat before we conclude the show and try to address some of your concerns, questions, whatever you have to say. But for now, yeah, romance and managing attraction. That's we're human beings, John. Differently wired people are human beings just like anybody else. And one thing that
Hmm.
is universal to human beings, regardless of their mental composition, is that we desire love. We have the capacity to love. However, when it comes to finding love, it seems that the game seems to be stacked around neurotypical rules, and a lot of those rules are unsaid. I imagine
Right.
that, John, a lot of the times when you're talking to your clients, that this issue has come up once or twice and people have expressed frustration. Maybe somebody said something that came off the wrong way and they're absolutely horrified that maybe they offended somebody that they really liked. And yeah, like, has that happened a lot in you?
An awful lot.
Yeah, yeah.
An awful lot. If you're differently wired, people who are wired can be
Oh,
straightforward.
John, sorry,
As
John,
often as not.
John, sorry, you broke up there
Yes.
for the last 5 seconds. Can you please start again?
Sorry.
It's okay.
The web is a very busy highway now. I'm noticing lately that things are not as strong on the web as they used to be.
Hmm.
There's too many people using it. Just we're going to have to get a big web from the moon or something.
Yeah, that was happening
Anyway,
to Cy Obsidian when he was doing his podcast earlier today as well. So
yeah, no, it's all over the place. I don't know if there's any way around it, but
we'll make do.
uh, yeah, we'll make do. So you can just scream at me when I disappear, and so on,
Oh,
and I'll do the same thing.
yeah, I do that anyways, and he does that to me. So go ahead.
Yeah, it's this problem is everywhere, and the thing about managing attraction and communication and romance is that people uh, don't. They often forget that women like to talk and they like to be listened to. Men like to talk and they like to be listened to. It's not exactly in the same balance, and it varies from person to person. But the underpinning of a good relationship is the way you communicate. So obviously, if you're differently wired and there's issues around communications, that's going to be a soft spot in your, in your developing a relationship. Because I mean, differently wired folks will have trouble talking to their family. They will have trouble talking to work. They will have trouble listening. So not everybody, but to some extent, it's a challenge all across the spectrum of kinds of communication. So I'm thinking that you need you need to develop strategies whereby you come off as honest as opposed to
Hmm.
blunt. So honest seems to be hmm, kind of important. Seems like I'm offline again. Am I?
No, you're. I can still hear you, John. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
So we've got a couple of mailbag questions dealing with that kind of thing, so we'll get more specifically in the way to manage it. But yes, it is a constant challenge, um, and it's not it's something that you can't fix overnight by coming up with pickup lines or cute little uh, what should I say techniques that are safe fail technique. That's a really bad way to go if you're not good at constructing that sort of thing, which is kind of horrible anyway. It's better to be yourself, but a version of yourself that works. Now we have to work on how that works.
Hmm.
We have to talk about how that can happen because it's not easy. Because sometimes stuff you've said or done has been an impulse. Sometimes you speak too loudly or too quickly or move to this way or to that way or you're too affectionate or to something. It's a question of making kinds of little tiny adjustments as you can. But
Hmm.
anyway, I won't go into the answers to the mailbag yet.
Yeah.
We'll keep going.
Well, what I'll say first in regards to like trying to figure out a version of yourself that works, I suppose I can offer a couple thoughts on this because, after all, I am personally differently wired. I'm on the autism spectrum, and like any other male that is on the autism spectrum, I have had difficulty when it comes to romance and managing attraction. But here are a few things that I found have worked out for me best when it comes to dealing with partnerships. Um, well, actually, before I do, Devin S., I just want to address something that you said in live chat. They asked if we were going to talk about anything in regards to LGBT relationships. We could. I mean, like, if somebody wants to say something on that subject, that's fine. I see. I'm not personally a part of that community, but we can always
I don't
talk
mind.
about it.
I don't mind. I don't mind jumping in there for a second.
Sure.
What we're going to say will apply across a whole spectrum of kinds of relationships because what I'm discovering in my clients that are in various kinds of relationships that they need good communication, they need trust, they need love, they need understanding, they need affection. Doesn't matter what your sexual orientation is.
Hmm.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You may operate a little differently, but if you're at home with somebody, you want to be treated well. So it's particularly important if you're differently wired, and it doesn't matter what your sexual orientation is. An awful lot of this stuff cuts across all those sorts of issues.
Yeah. It can be quite universal at times.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, in regards to my personal experience, what I found has worked for me, as I was just saying before, the rules when it comes to dating and attraction, they aren't something that tends to take into account neuroatypical behavior.
Hmm.
And they can, like some of the things like you just said, John, in regards to being socially awkward, misunderstanding social cues, not knowing whether or not you're too loud or not. Instead of trying like constantly brooding on those particular things as faults so you can never get rid of, try finding out ways to turn them into positives. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, think of it this way. One example, sometimes we don't really know, like we're afraid to talk to an ideal partner, hypothetical, or just, anybody, like anybody that you find attractive. One thing that I found has always worked for me, if you're worried about talking or maybe saying the wrong thing, just be the person that listens. Take the active listener role and just let the other person talk. If there's one thing that autism spectrum disorder people tend to do already naturally, is just be quiet. And they also tend to approach things in a much more logical way, and they take in a whole bunch of different pieces of information and then respond accordingly. Like if you happen to come across somebody that you like and they happen to be quite chatty, maybe they want to talk to you about their day, or maybe they saw something in the news that they found quite reprehensible and they wanted to get their thoughts out about it, then they can lead the conversation and you can just sit back and nod along and be like, I understand. Now, I'm not, I I don't mean like in a sitcom kind of way where it's like the guys are trying to uh, take on the girls and they just keep saying I understand, and the girls being completely oblivious. Apparently that works. So I mean, like, be an active listener and take interest in what they're saying. And I found that
Yeah.
even with the people that I've spoken to in regards to being in a relationship that are particularly scared about this, they are already naturally gifted listeners. They're terrified, but I say, dude, that's all you have to do. just be honest and, approach what they're saying and listen to everything that they're saying. And once you demonstrate that, hey, you're able to take in all the information that they're saying, repeat it back to them and demonstrate your understanding, that's usually more than enough. Now, another thing. Now, some of the things that, like the quirky behaviors that are inherent to people with ASD or who happen to be mentally, well, let's just say differently wired, they tend to think, oh, well, maybe the fact that I speak in a matter of fact tone of voice tends to be off putting. They might think that I'm boring, or maybe I seem too shy. But you can take those things and turn them into a positive for you. Now, one thing that I found, like I have a sort of secret superpower, and I've referenced this a couple times on the show. I tend to speak in a
Hmm.
pretty matter of fact way when I talk. So I found that when I said some really outlandish, far fetched stuff, like I make up these ridiculous stories, and then I tell people about them, they tend to think that I'm serious. And then when I tell them that I'm not actually serious, they tend to laugh quite hysterically about it. Like I said something I think once about did I tell the story about my grade 12 law class and how we were talking about religious groups? John, do you
Oh,
remember that?
yes, I do remember that. And you were setting up a Mormon hit group or something? I don't know.
a more
Some sort of
sorry, did you say a Mormon hemp group?
no hit,
Oh, hit
some
group.
sort of squad or
No,
something.
no. I said like people were making fun of the Jehovah Witnesses, and I said, guys, can you please not make fun of the Jehovah Witnesses? And they're like, oh, are you part of it? And I'm like, no, I'm actually part of a subgroup called the Jehovah Witness Protection Program. And
Egit remembered.
sorry.
Egit in this chat room remembered Jehovah Witness protection. He wrote that before you said it.
Oh, you're the real MVP. Thank you so much for listening for that long that you actually remember that. Yeah, the Jehovah Witness Protection Program. And what I found is that when I sort of say these really outlandish things in a matter of fact way, I found that the girls that I have talked to found that quite charming. They found that, hey, this guy has a sense of humor. I can talk to them and have actually a pretty good time.
Yeah,
It's
actually, having a sense of humor is a comfort to a relationship.
Yeah, absolutely. And I
It
found
is
that
comforting.
I'm a pretty naturally goofy person, and hey, if you can, approach people in an already lighthearted, goofy way, not taking things too seriously, and you can, apply that to, like, let's say your inability to speak in a tone of voice that varies, you can make that work for you, just like it's worked for me.
There's a couple of things I would like to mention as I think of them
Sure.
that are quite specific. For instance, one thing that can make a relationship strong is giving good eye contact, staring into one another's eyes. Well, for some people who are differently wired, that's not going to work, right? It's
Right.
just like going to be really difficult, especially in the early stages, to stare into somebody's eyes. It's not that easy to do anyway. So if that's the case for you and you have trouble staring at people, just tell them. Don't wait till you don't get the job because you didn't look up. Tell them right off the bat, look, I'm looking down because I get too much information, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm looking down. It's not because I think you're beautiful or I think you're gorgeous or I think you're handsome. I that's me. I look down. I'll
Yeah.
glance up from time to time to make sure you didn't walk off a building or something, but otherwise, I'm, uh, and of course, smiling is great to do. There's another thing. Some people tend to show stiff body language, like they'll fold their arms in front of them, say, and it's kind of protective. And if you happen to have that habit, it's great to unlearn that. There's a few little things like that you can do that say your family have told you, oh, I hate it when you do this all the time. Oh, well, what is this? And they tell you what it is. Okay, is there a way I can stop doing that? So friends and family can give you clues as to how to appear to be approachable. I'm talking now about the early relationship stuff, so you're not off-putting. That's just a couple of thoughts that occurred to me that I thought I would mention.
Hmm.
Specific things.
Yeah. Well, although, just like one thing I would like to say, if you're a dude and you can't look somebody in the eye and you're looking down and you're talking to a woman, just make sure that it's clear that you're not looking down at something
Yeah.
else. Otherwise, that could.
Like, like don't poop on the walk or something, right?
Oh, John, you broke up there. What'd you say?
I said a fly on the sidewalk.
Yeah. Oh no, I was looking at the other thing. Um, and also one other thing like that I found like it's hard to speak from the female perspective, obviously, because I'm a man. But I could say one thing in regards to my fellow men. One thing that you got to do that I find that a lot of guys that I talk to tend to have trouble with is you got to look at yourself as equally valuable. Like there
Mm,
tends to be
mm,
like we tend to live in a somewhat gynocentric society where like women are sort of naturally biologically valuable because they're the biological limiter of the species. They have the wombs and all that. If you're just looking at things from a purely biological perspective, um, but like just in general, you gotta assign equal worth to yourself because a lot of relationships, like romance is a part of it and love is a large part of it. But like as relationships start to get more serious, you take up each other's time, you use each other's resources. It can be quite transactional. So if you approach relationships in a way where you treat yourself as equally valuable and you do have a certain amount of self-respect, women will find that attractive. They'll say, "Oh, well, this guy isn't needy. He isn't, just running after anything that smiles in his general direction." That will naturally want attract partners, and I think that generally goes for some women on the other side too. But like I'm just speaking generally to the male experiences. I've understood it for myself and other people. Um, yeah, just confidence.
So, broadly speaking, people who are differently wired may have difficulty understanding and expressing emotion, especially ASD folk. Um, so, because of that sort of, like you're talking about the tone of voice or the difficult with emotions and so on, it's really good to say things that explain what's going on to the person you're talking to, so that they're not like if you're looking away or turning away. You say, "Well, I'm turning away because," instead of them thinking, "Oh, he doesn't like the way I look.
Mhm.
He doesn't want to look at me." Oh, So it that actually speaks to the honesty of the communications entirely. That's really important.
Yeah. I probably have a couple other things to say, but I can't really think of them all off the top of my head. What we should probably do, like, it's still a little bit early, but I'm sure that there'll be people, a lot of people that have something to say on this topic in the live chat. We already have nearly 80 people watching, which is pretty good
Mm.
for us. Um, yeah, so before we go into the mailbag, I just wanted to point out, like I just said, there is about 80 people watching us, but there's only 45 likes. Fix that ratio. No, I'm kidding. But seriously, guys, when you like the stream, it tells the YouTube algorithm that our content is worth watching. And who knows, there might be somebody out there that is differently wired. Maybe there is somebody out there that's struggling with, maintaining relationships or finding relationships, and they could really use a video like this. So please hit that like button. It helps John and I out a whole lot. Now, let's move on to the aforementioned mailbag. Now, we do have a mailbag segment for this show. Usually happens towards the middle, near the end of the show, and we go into their email and we find a whole bunch of stuff that you guys have sent us. Sometimes you're asking for advice, sometimes you have questions in regards to differently wired topics. Just as long as it has to do with being differently wired, we'd love to hear from you guys so that John and I can talk about whatever you have to say on the show. And you can send your emails to us at any time to this email address that you see on screen now. That is maxdarrett@yahoo.ca. That is maxdarrett, all one word, at yahoo.ca. So the first email comes to us from the guy who just sent us the super chat before. That is, hold on a second. Yeah, Joel Wiss. Uh, Joel, is that how you pronounce your last name, dude? Just let me know in a direct message on Discord in case I miss your message in the live chat. And Joel Wiss writes, communication can be hard because of it, and a bit harder because. Wait, hold on a second.
Oh, there's
Oh,
two.
yeah, there's two. Okay. So Joel, he actually. Let me set up his email a little bit before I read it. So Joel, he's actually getting married. He's engaged, and unfortunately, due to the whole uh, Bud Light sickness that's going around, they're currently a sea apart. So they're just waiting for this whole thing to pass so that travel can be permitted and they can get married. So he sends in this email just talking about his experiences in regards to that and more broadly speaking. Joel says, communication can be hard because of being on the autism spectrum, and a bit harder because English is her second language. Yeah, Joel's fiance is Dutch, and she's a cosplayer. Me, 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 me. He rules the internet today. There are random moments when a small disagreement can happen because I'm not understanding what she's trying to say, but we finally get our message across. We do our best to take a step back and figure out what the person is saying after we cool off from any argument. But mostly, my fiance doesn't notice my autism when it comes to everyday life, except when I'm getting overwhelmed. When that happens, she lets me find a quiet place and stays close to help me relax. She won't push me during those times and will tell people that I just need time to myself. A good example is that when she was visiting me, I started panicking because the GPS was going crazy and I was low on gas for my car. She just reached over and brushed the back of my head to snap me out of my panic and just breathe. So the only time that autism comes up in our relationship is when it's dealing with an overwhelming situation or we joke about it. Yeah,
Wow, she is a keeper.
yeah.
She's a keeper.
Every
That's
time
a that's really good.
every time Joel and I are talking on Discord, he always manages to bring his fiance up, and he's like, "Oh, she's Dutch. Oh, she's a cosplayer. Oh, she has autism, so we're able to communicate." It's just like, can I have your life,
No, this
please?
is wonderful, Joe.
Yeah,
She knows how to behave. This is destined to go well.
yeah, absolutely. And some one other thing we should probably add to the whole, romance and managing attraction topic is that sometimes it might just be beneficial to find somebody that also has what you're going through, and maybe find somebody else that has autism. Because if you're gonna, you know, find like people who are on the autism spectrum already have a hard enough time when it comes to friendships, let alone relationships. And when you can find
Mhm.
somebody that you can talk to and they'll know, hey, this is why I do this is why I do that, and you can just sort of have that bond on that level already, you sort of skip past a whole lot of the superficial stuff when it comes to dating, and you can get down to the real meaningful stuff and about what it means to be in a proper relationship. I found that when it came to my last relationship, she didn't happen to be on the autism spectrum, but she was differently wired, and because some of our symptoms overlapped, we were able to understand each other. And even though we lived an ocean apart, we were together for almost 3 years, and it ended amicably. So take that into consideration, guys. Oh, and actually, one other thing that you should probably consider. A couple of people have told me in the Discord server that they've actually found people that they could be in long distance relationships with, and it's because they have these shared experiences with being differently wired. So if you're looking for,
There is something about long distance relationships that really works well for folks that are differently wired.
mm,
I think the ways you communicate are maybe a little bit more structured, and it comes up in Joel's note where um, where does he say this? I need time to myself away. So you're not forced to react face to face all the time with this person that you're interested in when you're in a long distance relationship. So you step back, you're answering a text, you got time to answer. You're answering an email, you got time to. So it gives you a little bit of uh, thinking time so
yeah,
that the impulse to say something doesn't create a problem. It's just something about it. I haven't seen any science on it, but I've seen so many cases where it really worked well for people who are differently wired to be with someone who's an ocean apart or a town apart or far far away. So I've seen it work an awful lot of times. The other thing I wanted to point out about this smart woman is she could have said, "What's wrong with you? It's go to the gas station. Don't be so stupid." She said nothing.
yeah,
She didn't need to say anything.
she do.
Brushed the back of my head. See, that's perfect. It's brilliant and subtle at the same time.
Yeah. If you want to if you want to instantly cool a guy down, just brush the back of their head. That's how you do it.
Hmm.
Not a tousle, but what was the other thing I was about to say? Oh yeah, just in regards to what you're saying about being in long distance relationships. Yeah, yeah, John, absolutely. Like some people say, I don't understand how you could have any problem with communication, Max. You already do such a decent job of it on YouTube. And I say, well, that's because I'm online. I'm not talking to you in person, and I'm able to write a lot of this stuff down beforehand. And even when I'm not, and I'm just talking like live on the show to you right now, John, or to people that are
Hmm.
listening live, I don't have to worry about eye contact. I don't have to worry about body language. And I'm able to be
No,
in my head a little bit more so I can, dedicate time to maybe being witty or humorous or making a good point. It's a lot harder to do that when you have to take into consideration how you're coming off physically. Okay. Let's move on to the next mailbag question, and this one comes to us from Got H. What's the H? Got Ham? Got. Anyways, cool name. This is one thing I've struggled with for a long time and lost friendships over. I'm a 34-year-old man and struggle to treat women I'm attracted to like I'm not a 14-year-old horn dog. And I'm fairly obvious about it as I'm not good at hiding what's on my mind. And having a conversation in this state is nearly impossible as I can't figure out anything else to say but what's front and center there. I don't have this issue with women I'm not attracted to, so it's not a women issue, this is my issue, and I refuse to fall into the trap of blaming them for it. Some strategies would be helpful. I've tried just being honest about it, but that has often backfired, hence the lost relationships as they then don't feel safe around me. Oh, yeah, this is high
it's
school in a
tricky, isn't
nutshell
it?
for me, yeah.
Yeah, it's tricky, but I really admire Gott saying, "I refuse to fall into the trap of blaming them,"
Yeah, good.
because what that is really powerful psychologically. Because what's happening here is that he's accepting responsibility for his own personal improvement and development. If he had done the other thing, it would be regressive. He would go back.
Hmm.
It would mean it would be miserable. So he's looking at this with open eyes and not blaming, oh, they're just this, they're just that. Because in high school, that happens a lot, right?
Yeah.
People, oh, she doesn't like me. Well, she's rotten anyway, kind of nonsense. It's a good to hold that. I think we can come up with some good suggestions here for God.
Yeah. I'd say, like, one thing that you should probably focus on, and I found it's worked out best for me. Like, you're clearly desiring a relationship, and that desire is coming out in your physical behavior. What I think you should try and do first and foremost is try to stop making that sort of the most important goal in your mind. And like, obviously that's easier said than done. But one thing that I found works out best, where if you do this particular thing, the other thing will come naturally, and that thing is just working on yourself. If you focus on, maybe learning a skill or doing something that other people tend to find like an attractive quality, the other thing will come naturally and you won't have to worry about the way that you come off. Like, maybe think about, you know developing some comedic chops. Maybe learn how to play an instrument, learn how to speak a second language, or like just working on yourself in any regard. Lift some weights. All those things, in one level or another, depending on your temperament, is relatively easy to pick up. And once you do that, I found in my personal experience and based on the other people that I've talked to, that once you do that, everybody else seems to come to you naturally. And in regards to, you being 34 years old, dude, basically, based on the trends that I've seen in regards to dating, in regards to men, women tend to have their best. I'm just speaking generally here, guys, so don't get too upset with me. I'm just going off of scientific data. Women tend to have their best success dating when it comes to being in their early to mid 20s. Whereas with dudes, it seems to be in their early to mid 30s. And the reason why that is because at around that time in their life, they've had some time to develop those skills that, attract women. The general saying is, in regards to the dating game, is that women have too many people to choose from, and, they're the choosers and men are the chasers. Right. Well, once you get to that point in your life where you've gotten a decent job, you developed enough life experience, you know how to deal with the various tribulations of life in a noble way, in a courageous way, and we'll find that attractive. Now, maybe there's a couple different areas in your life that you can work on, where you can make things a little bit better. And if you want to talk more about that sort of stuff, like if you're having trouble figuring out what that is, make sure to email us back. Sorry, I got distracted. Somebody sent a message to me on my phone. John, do you have anything you want to say?
Yeah, I do. When I was rooting around the web for any sort of clues about this subject, I ran into an article in Psychology Today that's old, May 1992, and it's entitled More Than Just Friends. The subheading is Learn How to Harness Your Workplace Attentions Productively Outside the Bedroom. So, what this article says in a nutshell is that you can be good friends with people and not necessarily sexually attracted to them, and you might go for coffee dates.
Sure.
You might work together closely for many years, and you can have fun, you can have banter, but they're not actually uh, someone you intend to have any sexual relationship or marriage or anything with.
Mm.
But that's fine. So it seems to me that for God, if everyone he meets, he chooses to think it's just friends or good friends. In other words, whatever you're doing with the women you're not attracted to is not creating a problem. That's the strategies you need to use to talk to other women. In
Mhm.
other words, whatever you were saying to this friend who is an okay relationship, however you're behaving, that's your clue as to how to behave around other women. Now, if you make friends with this woman and then it develops into a more intimate relationship, that's fine. But if your object is to just be friends, if you can somehow get yourself to have that as you're being a friend, you're not going to be creepy, you're not going to be stalking or screaming or whatever, or looking down and so forth, uh, then you might have a better chance of entering a conversation with this kind of mindset.
Mm.
Okay? So you're not trying to convince them of anything. You're just being friendly. That's one kind of strategy that might be helpful. The other thing that occurred to me as I was reading over Gott's note is you have a fabulous resource here that you're not using enough. Pardon me. And that's the women who you don't have a problem talking to. In that group of people, there are some persons or person who you can say, look, I got this issue. Can we talk? Can you help me with this stuff? In other words, get them to give you some dating clues, talking clues, uh, whatever.
Mm.
Like that's a resource I believe you're probably not using, and they're there. They're right there for you. It's not, it's not a woman issue. You don't have this issue with the women I'm not attracted to, but you can talk to the women you're not attracted to, and help women. Some of these women would love to be helpful. They love that.
Yeah.
So anyway,
They tend to,
a
yeah.
couple of things.
Yeah, just in regards to what you just said there, John, about approaching women without that mindset beforehand. Isn't that sort of like every good romantic comedy ever? Like that's what
Hmm.
When Harry Met Sally was, and that's like one of the best. Roman Holiday, that's one of my favorite movies. Gregory Peck approached Audrey Hepburn without that intent in mind, yet it's one of the
Hmm.
greatest love stories ever, in my opinion.
Hmm. Hmm.
Maybe that's a good approach, dude. Just to approach, just tend to approach, trick your mind into thinking like, hey, like every woman that you go and talk to, don't even think about the prospect of being in a relationship with them. Just be friends with them, and who knows? Maybe that might work out in your favor. Maybe they'll be like, oh well, you know, maybe he's like the kind of guy that could get any woman that he wants if he actually tries, and they would find that attractive. Who knows? Anyways, we have about 10 minutes left, and I said I did want to address some of the things that you guys are saying in the live chat. Can I actually bring that up on screen right now?
That would
It's
be cute.
I could if you guys just give me a second. John, maybe you could pick out something that somebody said in the chat while I'm figuring out how to bring
Let's
it
go
up.
right. I'm going to go right to the top of the chat then.
Okay. Yeah, I'm
And
just
start there and see if there's something that somebody gives us a kind of a lead in.
okay. I'm just bringing it up on screen now, guys. Bear with me.
Okay.
Do 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 do. La 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 la. There we go. Perfect. I see all you beautiful people. Nicola, Mags, Matthew H. What's good? Devin S says, I don't know what dating is. I don't know how to respond to that because I don't know if you're being serious or sarcastic.
Hey, it could be quite true. I noticed that Joel has said he's on the squad. That's not related to this actual topic necessarily, but
Mhm.
Joel's a pretty regular good guy, and he's on that squad, on your Discord squad, and he's open to questions and stuff. So people who haven't gone into Discord yet, there's one of the squad people who's ready to chat.
Mhm. Thanks so much, Joel. Adam Luck says it's only happened twice for myself. It's special when it happens, and don't be afraid to talk about your insecurities with them because if you don't, you might start to self-destruct the relationship. Yeah, you definitely got to be open about that sort of stuff. Like true love is loving somebody despite whatever insecurities they have, whatever faults they might have.
Well, yeah, the interesting mechanics of that is if you go into a relationship having to hide a lot of stuff, that's complicated.
Yeah.
And, and it means that you're sort of living a lie and you're, oh my God, she's I smoke cigarettes, or she's going to find out I do this, or she's going to find out whatever. So you're on guard. So you're not really being relaxed. You're kind of have to be a bit manipulative or secretive. So it's actually better
Hmm.
to say, yeah, you know what? This is a characteristic of mine. I don't mean to be rude when I interrupt you. I'm sorry. I'll try to stop doing it, or whatever. Whatever that thing is that you think you need to work on, let them know.
Yeah. If you think you're gonna effectively hide whether or not you're a smoker, you can think again. Uh,
I do know people who try.
oh, really? Are they
Yeah.
are they successful?
No. I mean,
Oh,
their clothes give them away, right?
right. What smells
Smell
like
like
menthol?
an outhouse.
Yeah. Were you at a concert or something? It's
Yeah.
it's 12 in the afternoon. Let's see. Uh, Joel says best joke I have in my relationship is that my autism granted me the brain power to equal 6 hardcore Star Wars fans.
Hmm.
Wait, did I read that wrong? Best joke I have in my relationship is that my autism granted me the brain power to equal. Oh, I see. Well, I mean, Star Wars fans, if we've learned anything in the last 2 years, they can be quite passionate. Yeah. So if you're 6 hardcore Star Wars fans, that's either a recipe for the greatest love story ever or complete disaster. But seeing as you're getting married, I think it's the former, Joel.
Wandering Tiger is an optimistic person. There's someone out there for us all, but it doesn't happen right away. But it will happen.
Yeah.
It will take a while, maybe, for some people to connect up. But yeah, there's a lot of people and a lot of good people.
Mhm. And by the way, if there happen to be any, let's say, I'll just say it, French women that happen to be listening to this show, just feel free to hit me up, maxdirt@yahoo.ca. Especially if you happen to be on the spectrum, that'd be really cool too. Um, let's see. Yago says it is always about self and what others can bring to their lives. If you are someone that is against on some of their moral ideas, ways of living, then probably you won't be easily accepted. Well, I mean, like if you got to make sure that you have the same moral perspectives on at least some things. If you don't share the same values, like religion can be a particularly big thing when it comes to relationships. That's one thing, but just values as well. Like whether or not you
Well,
believe.
yeah, that's right. And if you know there's something about people that is a terrible turnoff to you, and you couldn't really live with this, and you see it, okay, you got to stop. So, for instance, you might be inclined to meet a person and you like them, but they drink a lot. They drink a lot of booze,
Mm.
and maybe that doesn't suit you. Maybe that makes you uncomfortable. So, okay, in that situation, you have to turn away. So there's certain sorts of characteristics that will work for you and some that will not. So you need to know that. If you can't stand this sort of thing or that sort of thing, okay, yeah. So you don't have to stay with that.
Mm. One general rule of thumb when it comes to if you want to let somebody know that you're serious, but also that you're somebody that's worth hanging around with for a while. One thing that I've always found, and I think my dad gave me this piece of advice, is just tell the person that you're interested in or that you're dating, look, if I can pretty much guarantee you that we won't, like, I can't guarantee you that we won't have any drama. You know, everybody does, but I can pretty much guarantee you that we can minimize it quite successfully if you just do one thing for me. Always be honest.
Hmm.
That's what I've always said in regards to my past relationships, and it's always worked out quite well. And that's a good starting place. Um, let's see. Oh, I should probably scroll. My chat just jumped. Let's see. Red and Vodka says there's a really good book about dating called The Tao of Badass. I thought I wrote that book. I could send it to you, Broda. It worked great for me. And send it to me, you know, if you have a free copy. Uh, let's see. Do you happen to see any other ones, John?
Well, Vanessa just wrote in, "Oh no, I'm the one drinking a lot of booze in my relationship." Well, maybe in your relationship that other person's fine with it. That's fine.
Well, just as long as you know you're not destroying your liver. That's most
Yeah,
important. You know, you could be a social drinker. You know,
yeah.
I that's you know when people ask me about my love of food, I just say, "Oh, I'm a social eater."
You eat socials.
Yes, I don't socialize, so I eat socially. How about that? Um, see, there's the humor that can get you a decent relationship. Uh, let's see. Jacob Games 115 says, I've had trouble managing attraction for so long. I went too far with a girl and I find it hard to forget all these years later. Hmm. Well, look, maybe there's some way that you could seek forgiveness. I don't know like what time in your life that happened. Maybe it was quite a confusing time. Maybe you were still really really young. You could talk about that sort of thing. It's not good to dwell on those things from the past, dude. That road leads to madness. Trust me, as somebody who was on that road for a long time, you know, being differently wired, I did say one or two things and do one or two things that I wasn't particularly proud of. You know, nothing like illegal or, you know, morally bad. It's just probably could have handled that situation a little bit better, and that goes for everybody. But, you know, I managed to try and put a positive end to those situations. And if you can find a way to do that for yourself, I'd highly recommend it. You know, I think you'll find that a lot of cases, people are just willing to let bygones be bygones just so you can move on with your life, right? Or about a minute left. So I think we should just end the show, unless John, you happen to see one other thing.
Uh, uh, we caught some stuff that we can riff off of about. So this is a very interesting topic, and for some people, it is really, really important.
Mhm.
So I hope the show has been helpful.
Yeah. And guys, if you have any questions in regards to this subject, please feel free to either leave them in the comment section after the show is done, or if you want to, we don't just have to talk about this particular topic because we're talking about it on this show, and the show is titled Romance and Managing Attraction. We could talk about this topic or any other topic at any time in the future. All you have to do, I'll just remind you right now, send it to us at any time to maxstarrett@yahoo.ca. Here, I'll put up the email again one last time before we close out the show. There it is. maxstarrett@yahoo.ca. Feel free to email us at any time, and we'd be happy to talk about whatever you have that's on your mind on the show in the future. John, I know you have to go. Thank you so much, as always, sir. It's always a pleasure to
Thank
talk
you.
to you. And yep, and have a good rest of your week. And guys, thank you so much for watching. Before you go, I just want to ask you, please make sure you hit that like button in case you haven't. It's free. I mean, look up Marlon. It's free. Just make sure you do that because, like I said, it helps out the channel a lot. Tells YouTube algorithm that our content is worth watching, and it not only passes around this video, but other videos in the Differently Wired series, as well as other videos on this channel. I think that's about it. Look forward to another video coming out from me either Friday or Saturday. And yeah, that does it for us. For now, until we do this again next time on Wednesday, ladies and gentlemen, stay safe. And of course, as always, stay yellow.